Welcome back to Inside the Block podcast, where we focus on a different business each in the warehouse block each and every episode. But today's episode is really exciting because we're actually going to be talking to, what would your job title be? Head honcho, big
parking
boss,
lot sweeper, toilet plunger, like basically whatever menial task that there is. That's me.
maintenance guy. Yeah. So Chad Walker.
Hey everybody, good to see you.
So your dad owned many buildings of the warehouse block from early on. So you have always been really ingrained into this area's history, culture, etc. Tell us how the warehouse block has changed and grown over the years. How did this particular area in Lexington start? Everything.
Sure. All right. Well, and to start, my father, Randy, was a commercial electrician. Used to work out of the house. At one point, he bought a property at 333 North Ashland Avenue. That's where Seasons Catering is now. And when he bought that, the neighborhood was in just really bad disrepair. Both properties on either side of him were just run down garbage properties. So he bought those, fixed them up, cleaned them up, and then the properties on either side of those were run down. And so he just kind of kept going. The neighborhood originally was, back when the majority of it was owned by a company called J.T. Perry. And so Mr. Perry had a lumber yard. He had his construction company. He had a general store kind of set up like that's where Willis Klein is now. And it was just a booming neighborhood. And then he passed away, and his kids didn't really want to continue on. And so it just fell in disrepair. Nobody really paid much attention to it. Also involved with that was the John G. Bottling. I'm sorry, the
Eppings.
Eppings, that's it. Bottling company, which is where Eppings on East Side is now. That's where they got their namesake. And there's still some equipment in there from those days where they made 7-Up and Orange Crush.
Yes.
On the vehicles, the original pictures that I have, also touted them as selling and distributing Fall City beer, and then a fledgling company at the time called Budweiser. Budweiser did not get top billing on top of
that
the
tiny
stuff.
company,
tiny little bitty company.
Unheard
I don't
of.
think much ever came out of them.
No.
But, yeah. But that's how it started. Is just sort of buying old buildings and fixing them up because it was more of a necessity.
Like playing Monopoly.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Except a lot more work, a lot dirtier, and had to be in the middle of everything. And that's joke, I used to actually sweep the parking lots, and Jill and I mowed the properties up until just a few years ago. So, we're still very hands-on, very nuts and bolts operation.
I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. So from my understanding, because I've done some research about this area for Lexington's beginnings, is that there was a train track that ran through it, and it was a spot where they would drop on. There'd be lumber yards. It was like a place where a lot of manufacturing would happen to be able to help, because of its proximity to downtown. It was a smart spot to be able to create that. So how is that culture still here? The warehouse block is named warehouse because of it's these old warehouses, and how so tell us about especially the railroad, which I'm sure was incredibly important, and then how it's grown from there because of that.
So, and that's kind of where it originated, was the rail. Continued on down the line, and it ended where the old Harold Leader building is. There was 2 spurs, one that came off right behind where Blue Door is, and looped into next to White Dress, and then the other one came behind where La Petite and Mere Twin Annex is, and actually went into the building. And it was actually on the other side of where we're at now, and pulled into the actual space, and so they could offload. There was 2 separate offload locations. There was a mill on site, which was the building that we're across from. That was the sawmill. And so it had this kind of really, really heavy industry. Then when we started, it was a little less of the super heavy industrial stuff, and went to more plumbers and mechanics.
And when did you start?
It was, I believe my father bought his first building in 87.
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
So this is more mechanics,
mechanics and more trade type stuff of painting companies. We had a general contractor. There was a Angelucci Acoustical, which did drywall and things like that. And that was sort of the next generation. Then it went into more of service industry type stuff, where you had fitness places did T-shirts and things. And then the most recent sort of morphosis of that is more the retail stuff. So we got the like Mirror Twin Brewing, some restaurants and things like that. So it's had 4 or 5 different directions.
Yeah, but I like that, especially in this area too, is that you can still see remnants of all the different iterations, and so they coexist really beautifully, I think.
We tried to keep a lot of that. There's some design things that it ends up being really cool, like where the blushery is now, they've got an old interior loading dock. There's no way that anybody would build a structure that has 2 tiers, especially out of concrete, and a sloped floor. But because it was existing, it ends up being this really neat spot where you've got, 2 great big huge overhead doors, and then this second level where you can kind of go up above the first level, and there's different sort of ways to take in the space. Whereas if we just designed it anew, we'd be out of our mind to do something like that.
You lose all the character. I mean, I love that you're adaptively reusing all those things, because otherwise you just be erasing sort of the history of it. Yeah.
And that makes it ends up being a really neat design aspect where you're sort of married to the space where it's, okay, we have to keep this. There's no way to remove it. How do we make it cool? And so they've got this like little balcony on the inside. When we talked about the white blush or the white dress place, there's some really odd spots there, but it ends up being a neat design. So all of them have a little quirky thing here or there that's like design-wise you would never replicate, but because it is there, it ends up being like a focal point.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, a lot of the like I think the white dress building is really in fact, I just recently had dinner with some friends that were talking about how they used to go into that building before it was white, and people have like memories of that building. So it's a really unique one for the area, especially considering it has all of those. Like you kept the windows, even though they used to be one-way windows, right? Or two, like whenever you're able to see out one way. Yeah. And so it's nice to, if you'd gotten rid of that, then it would have taken away a little bit of that Lexington underground PD culture of this was a spot for.
It used to be nobody came down here when we first started fixing it up because it was a rough spot. And everybody, 9 times out of 10, if I was outside and somebody said, hey, can you give me directions to, it was always the Christmas cleaner. There used to be a cleaning company up the road. And that was the place where everybody, after they got married, the brides always took their dresses to do the thing that they preserve them for eventually possibly their daughter. So everybody took their wedding dresses there. Nobody wanted to know where anything else was. But if you were standing outside like, hey, do you know how to get to? It's like, yeah, Christmas cleaners, it's right up over here. It was automatic.
Are they still around, Christmas cleaners? Okay.
No, they're gone
Gotcha.
now. Yeah. Now it's Mirror Twin or Eppings or something like that. But most people have GPS and can get there a little bit. But yeah, but back then it was always directions to Christmas cleaner.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the biggest challenge with revitalizing an area like you have?
Probably having a continual vision. Like we got lucky because basically nobody wanted any of the properties down here. And we weren't a standard developer where we come in and buy up the whole neighborhood. We had to buy a piece at a time because frankly we couldn't afford to do anything more. So having that continuity of design, that even though each individual building looks different, you're in a neighborhood, you're in a community. And that sort of plays to some of the what I would consider the nicer neighborhoods of like if you go to Greenbrier, every house there's different, but it still feels like a neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like even though there's an individualism of each sort of property's aesthetic, it still has enough of a continuity that it works. And down here is the same way. Honestly, Mintel and Kenwick and Belcourt are like that, where the bungalows are different, but they have their own artistic integrity. But as a whole, they still mesh.
Sure, it's cohesive still in some way. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of Kenwick, you are right on the edge of, without a doubt, the most popular, happening, incredibly sought after neighborhood in Lexington right now. And I was trying to think back to when I didn't know that. I feel like COVID really pushed Kenwick for whatever reason. Like it's the latest, hottest neighborhood. Yeah. But was it always?
No. And part of the problem was because it backed up to a heavily industrial neighborhood.
Sure.
A lot of the houses were.
So we have you to thank.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. No. This was the last piece of the puzzle. Kenwick and Mintel and Belcourt. Of course, Belcourt's always been massively sought after.
Yeah, sure.
Just like South Ashland Avenue. But the uniqueness of each of the houses, the maturity of the trees. Like you always look for, nice big mature trees in the neighborhood. That's one of them. And then just the neighbors themselves. Like they're extremely involved with like our neighborhood as well as with each other. They know each other's name. They go for walks with their dogs. And that's just a lovely thing that you don't really find as much anymore. I had nothing against them, but I had a house in Andover at one point. And, I never met my neighbors. That just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Here, it's automatic. They're going to pop in and, hey, how you doing? Let me give you the rundown of the place. And that makes it really nice. It ends up being that you don't just own a house. You own sort of stock in the whole neighborhood. And whether you're a renter or an owner, it extends to them the same.
Well, and I'm giving you a hard time about, this being so, but I'm not joking you. I have several friends who live in Kenwick, and one of the things that they really love, not only just Kenwick Table, and that being like a community center of sorts for them, but they do everything in the warehouse block. Yeah. They all walk down here, and they either take, exercise classes, and then they'll grab a cup of coffee, or they bring all of their kids down to Mirror Twin. The fact that Mirror Twin is super family friendly, I think is really, and it has a big family friendly vibe around here too. So it's like symbiotic. Like these two things worked really well together. So no wonder, this neighborhood is up and coming.
Since we switched away from kind of that more industrial aspect, and when the adaptive reuse program came down the pipe under former Mayor Jim Gray, it allowed for a lot more kind of public uses, like Mirror Twin or Eppings or Popcorn Paradise, La Petite, all these really cool local one-off spots that we really couldn't do prior to adaptive reuse. So it was mostly commercial. So nobody came down here at night. Parking in the entire neighborhood is wide open. You can park anywhere, and
completely
that's a nice
free.
thing. Completely free. And there's no chance that you're going to get towed because you happen to park in front of Mirror Twin and you're walking over to Eppings or vice versa. And that just makes it a lot nicer too.
Which is sadly a rarity.
Yeah.
That's a rarity, I think, everywhere, but especially this town. So, and what's funny too is that whenever I come, I usually park in front of, like behind Eppings, like near the decorator spot, Rag Peddler. And the first time I did, it was like, check our QR code for parking. Yeah. And I was like, oh gosh, okay, and it was like, it's free. And I was like, oh, okay,
park anywhere you want.
Yeah, I was like, I had to get on my, great.
I'm the only one who tows anybody, and you have to be like there for weeks, and somebody will call and say, hey, this car's been abandoned or whatever.
Gotcha.
And it just makes it, like, nobody wants to go out to dinner and immediately be inundated with, if you park here, we're going to take your firstborn, and, we're going to. Absolutely. Like, nobody wants that. You want a friendly, welcoming neighborhood. We're trying to do as minimal signage as possible. So that way it's not, I don't know, it's a little abrasive when you show up to a spot and you've got 20 different signs you got to read that tells you all the rules of a spot. Like here, it's just, come hang out, have a good time.
Well, parking, I think I was telling you this the other day too. I really like parking in this area because it doesn't take away from feeling like seeing all of the buildings. So like it's in little pockets, little nooks around, and it's hidden behind different buildings and stuff. And so it just, you find a good spot, and you're like, oh, this is my little spot behind Mirror Twin or whatever.
Well, it lures you into, okay, let's say you're going to Lucia's and you're going to buy something over there, and you pop in, and when you're finished, like, well, we could really use a cup of coffee. If there's a sign saying this is just for Lucia's, well, now you got to move your car. Well, instead, you can go for a walk. You go through the whole neighborhood and have a good time. That's right, as you should.
Come on, Americans.
More neighborhoods should be like that, of going, somebody might park in your spot for a couple hours, but they also might come to your place and, give you money for a product. Like, why would you ever hamper that?
Absolutely. Foot traffic. Yeah.
Now, you talk about those kids, though. Yeah, Mirror Twin is kid-friendly. And this is yet another one of those things that I thought was, like, there's so many things that I admit that I know nothing about, and one of them is kids. And so Derek came up with this idea.
You don't have kids, right?
No.
Okay.
I got nieces. Okay. And Derek, the head brewer at Mirror Twin, came up with this idea. He's like, these kids, they run wild. Parents don't always watch them. We're going to build this cage. And
it's a cage. Yeah. It's for sure. It looks like it's for dogs, but it's for children.
And so it's like this little playground, so it keeps the kids
with
in this little corral.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, that's the dumb. Of course, I got no kids, so I think I would have nothing to base this on. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, that will never work.
Love it.
Those kids love it. They go in there and play. But the problem is they didn't use a heavy enough gauge on the metal, because it's like a velociraptor cage. Like, they have absolutely gnawed through
these like toddlers that are ripping it like the Hulk.
Are strengthy little dudes, man. But every it just shows you how destructive a kid can be. Like every tine is like bent apart and they're like chewed off the top or whatever, but it's phenomenal.
That's great.
It worked wonderful. The kids love it. It keeps them from throwing rocks into the
Sure.
doors and things like that. But
Sure.
yet again, I was absolutely ousted of, this is never going to work. And it works wonderfully.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You just never know too. And like
No.
that's quite the theme in business, right? Sometimes you think
Oh, yeah.
this isn't, there's no way this concept will work, and then
Yeah.
it's just what Lexington needs or
Yeah.
whatever. Have you ever given any thought to putting in any like actual playground equipment anywhere?
Yeah. So when we finish the parking lot, when we actually get the green light to go ahead and start it,
And this is the parking lot you're talking about. That'll be right next to Mirror Twin,
Right.
kind of between Mirror Twin and Blue
Right.
Door.
the word I keep using is there's a total misnomer, but it's going to be a really nice parking lot. So
Now,
nobody ever
how
thinks
is,
it
how
really
is it nice? Tell me.
So instead of maximizing the entirety of the parking lot, we're going to use about a third of it for a green space area,
Love
for a
it.
stage, for
pavilion
like a possible
kind of thing.
pavilion,
Cool.
playground.
Very cool.
It'll be the slab for the farmer's market. So that'll be a really nice addition to the neighborhood. And yeah, the idea is to have a spot where that, even when businesses are closed, people can still bring your kids and let them rip and run and tear up stuff. And,
Absolutely.
play on the train tracks, whatever they want to do.
It's so safe.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. I love that. So you were telling me the other day too, how many parking spots?
It'll be about 100. I think it's like 108. I think total.
Wow.
Something
I
like
mean,
that.
that's significant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be
That's
big.
a good.
And then
good
that's where
chunk.
we'll have the block parties and stuff, so we won't have to close the street anymore. It'll be just a really nice addition to the neighborhood.
Totally.
So that'll be the last piece of the puzzle, hopefully,
I
for a while.
I love the idea. I think it's great. Speaking of the farmers market,
Yep.
so when did the farmers market? First of all, let me tell you this. So I like to plan my time to come here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, specifically so I can hit up the farmers market.
Yep.
And now I have a tomato guy.
Oh, yeah?
I'm really proud about it. Yeah,
Okay.
him and I, like,
Everybody
we're
needs a
pals.
tomato guy.
He's my tomato guy. He's from Clark County, and I
Okay.
don't know what it is about Clark County, but they grow probably the greatest tomatoes
Good
in
maters,
history.
yep.
Granted, I'm getting them in the summer when they're at their like peak
Oh, yeah.
deliciousness.
And nobody realizes how a really good tomato, like I didn't like tomatoes. I never
Me
ate
neither.
tomatoes.
Me
but
neither.
finally when I had one, it was the difference of, like a really good steak versus a garbage. Like it was
Oh, totally.
brand new experience.
Yeah, and it's like I must have so my entire life growing up as a kid, I hated tomatoes.
Yeah.
And then something about COVID, I had both the Delta and the Omicron variant,
Mm-hmm.
and I think something like that really messed me up. And afterwards, I was like, I've been missing out this whole time. It like really changed the makeup
Yeah.
of like my taste buds, and so now I love tomatoes, and so this is why I'm really glad I have the tomato guy. But it must have been also before. I must have just been having like winter tomatoes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So, like, who would do this?
See, I cheated because I didn't like tomatoes, and I convinced myself I didn't like them, but I like cheese. And so mozzarella, like, oh yeah, I'll just
Oh.
put a massive thing of mozzarella with
Heck
this
yeah.
little thing, and you get a caprese salad.
Absolutely.
And it sort of lured, like, okay, this is acceptable. Like,
yeah,
all right,
yeah.
let's have a little less cheese,
Like a
and a little more
gateway
tomato.
drug.
That's right. So as I slowly, like, okay, maybe I do like tomatoes.
Yeah.
But I do. I like
Well,
tomatoes
there's
now.
no greater flavor combination than a caprese salad.
No,
It's
no,
like
no,
those like basil, mozzarella, and tomatoes were like meant to be.
Tomatoes and onions are in everything. You have to like them in some
know, you
capacity.
really
Like they
do.
just,
Oh, I've never not loved an onion though.
no.
Yeah, but the farmers market, the difference between a Kroger tomato and
Yeah.
one from my tomato guy from Clark County, unparalleled.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Just incredible. And so, how did the farmers market come to be? Like, did you lure him over from downtown or?
I'd been working on them for years,
All
like
the
a
farmers.
long, long time.
Okay.
There's something I really believe in is what I always joke about is I don't really care about farm to table. I want farm to retail, is to actually get some of these farmers paid. And it's a lovely thing to be like, okay, farm to table, and but we really want those guys to be able to continue on, to be kind of a sustainable business. And it's difficult in Fayette County because the land's so expensive. And so you get Clark County.
Yeah.
But the original concept I pitched to them, 15 years ago, was an actual drive-through farmers market. And the thing that always bothers me about like going downtown is you go and buy produce and it's a lovely thing, but you might have to walk 15 blocks and
Or
nobody's going
pay
to buy.
for parking.
That's it.
You
Nobody's going
know?
to buy a watermelon
It
and heft it 20
honestly,
blocks, you know?
I love the downtown farmers market. I love that it's at Tandy Park and the Fifth Third Pavilion, and I think it's a great. There's so many of them. It's a great concept. But what turns me off so often, because I'm already coming in for like kind of a drive, is like, man, I'm gonna have to figure out how to pay for parking too, and it's already fairly crowded.
Oh, yeah.
You know, here you're in, you're out. Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, and
I
there's
had to throw
plenty
that
of
out
parking.
there.
So we reached out to Josh England, who's their executive director, and through a bunch of like, you know, farmers are used to getting taken advantage of. So they immediately are like, okay, what's he really up to? What's he going to charge us? Like, nothing. You guys just come down, set up. I'll build you a pavilion eventually. This is going to be great. You know, at least for the interim, just come set up, because they were losing their spot where the central bank lot is. And so that kind of created an opening. They needed a place to go. And it's been wonderful. Well, I take it back. It's been pretty good. The non-good part of it is that now my father-in-law will call and be like, hey, do they have kale today? I'm like, I have no idea. Well, call Josh. And so I call Josh, like, yeah, we got kale. How much you want? I'm like, a few pounds. Hang on. And so I got to leave and
So
go
now
shopping
you're like
for
a
my father-in-law.
liaison in between the two.
So, but yeah, and it's a block away from the office, so I'm okay with that. It's wonderful. But having them there and having him in such close proximity to the neighborhoods that really appreciate him, like Belcourt and Kenwick and Mintel, was across the board, no question. And I will tell you this too, Josh told me that when they finally voted on it, like after a lot of like kind of walking in circles around each other and feeling each other out, he said they finally got to the point where it's like, okay, are we going to go to National Avenue? And he said that was the first unanimous vote that the farmers ever had, with the exception of the vote to adjourn meetings. He said otherwise, like that's the only one that's ever unanimous. He said, yes, everybody voted unanimously to come down here. So
why do you think that they were so into the idea?
I think it's just a perfect fit for them. There's people that are in the neighborhood, businesses and residences alike, that will utilize their product. And so I think it's just going to get bigger, and it's honestly closer proximity to farmland itself. I mean, it's, 10, 15 minutes from like our home, and that's farmland. So it's just great. We love having them down here. And it's again, selfishly, I walk around the neighborhood and get all these smells, and they're actually cooking down there. And it's just like all the good things.
I haven't been.
They had, the one guy was cooking some kind of burger, and I don't remember if it was like lamb or ostrich or what, but he was putting beer cheese on it and like that.
Oh.
Awesome. Goodness.
Ostrich with beer cheese?
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Well, when I was at the Woodland Art Fair recently, I'd forgotten how much I like roasted corn. It was one guy, one tent, and the only thing I love it when people do one thing really, really, really well.
Yeah.
Like they're not spreading himself thin.
Yeah.
And the line was, and it's quick to get it for you because he's been roasting, and he dunks it in this huge thing of butter.
Yep.
And then you take it next to the table next to you, and it's just all seasonings,
Yeah.
And so like I went ham on all these seasonings. I need to talk to my Clark County tomato guy about maybe we're going to get into the dipped corn biz.
And that's the thing. It makes it nice is that we've done this of almost like a food tour where you can go to Eppings or you go like to
Have
Mere
you
Twin.
done a food tour of Warehouse Park?
Yeah. Oh gosh. What's her name?
Bites of the Bluegrass?
Yeah. Bites
Aaron.
of Bluegrass. Aaron. That's it. I couldn't remember her name.
Yeah.
She did a tour down here. Said it went really well. One of these days I'm going to do what I've been like. My working title is the $1 Million Tour, and it's going to be like this tour of like basically I'll guide it. We'll walk you through and have tastes and experiences of everything in the neighborhood, all the behind the scenes.
Amazing.
And we'll do it as like a charity. So we're trying to get people that would be about doing that of like, okay, how much would you pay for a ticket? $100, $500, whatever.
Totally.
And really make it a big fundraiser. Like give every nickel to a worthwhile charity. But
I love that.
that's on the book. As soon as I get a little time, I'm gonna do that one.
Let me help you with that
Okay,
one. I would
you
love
got
to
it.
do that one. So start at Eppings, do a little bite there, and then where would you go?
I mean, definitely,
Twin for a
definitely Mere
drink,
Twin. Nick makes those like baked avocado, which is best thing in the world. Then you go across the street and get a macaron from Silviana.
Totally.
You go get their big signature is the bourbon caramel popcorn at Popcorn Paradise.
Okay.
Really good. My personal favorite is the Chicago mix. It's like popcorn. It's caramel and cheddar popcorn together, and I think you put something else.
Yeah. It's like the salty and sweet.
That's it.
Yep.
Then maybe go to the blushery for a one of their
Froze.
frosés and good stuff. Of course,
Yep.
Blue Door Smokehouse is always on the list.
Yep.
If he's making it, the s'mores sake at Void is.
I haven't been to Void yet, and
it's
I'm
good
dying
stuff.
to go. I love their branding. I like
Mm-hmm.
their vibe in terms, like they do all these little markets.
Oh, yeah.
Like they like really
Very
fun.
active.
Yeah, they like they think of really fun, unique events to
Yeah.
kind of put on, and it's kind of niche, and I think it's so. There's a s'more flavored one though.
He does the s'mores. He's done passion fruit.
Does he make sake there?
Oh yeah, well not there.
Oh.
He makes it up the street, but yeah, it's like 2 blocks away.
Oh, I didn't realize he was.
Yeah, he does all the I guess fermenting.
Yeah, of
right
the
around corner.
rice and wow.
And then of course Wild Lab with Chappie and Andrew's
sourdough.
place, awesome stuff.
Totally.
And even like Lucia's has fair trade chocolate, and so
Yeah.
that's really cool. Gosh, everybody's got food in the neighborhood. It's
Totally.
all good stuff.
I know. You could do. It would be an epic food tour.
Yeah.
For sure. Like a wide because you have such a wide variety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
great.
all local. It's organic. It's so some of them are even to the extent of like fair trade or beyond organic, and they're all small businesses.
Yeah. I know. I was just thinking about how.
We don't have a single chain. In
I
the
was about to
neighborhood
say
at all.
I can't. It's really unique that it's all mom and pop kind
Yeah.
of shops. I think
Yeah.
that's great.
Derek at Blue, we were just telling this story the other day, but Derek, when they can for Mirror Twin in the 720 building right across from my office here, every once in a while he'll call me and say, hey, we're canning today and we're doing this or that. And so, yeah, the very first time they ran the machine, he called and was like, hey, you want to come have a beer right off the machine? Like, it's like 10:30 in the morning. Like,
So
hell yeah,
yes.
dude. Like, so, and so,
love
and
it.
it's not even marked. I've still got the can in my office.
Yeah.
It's just an
Aw,
aluminum can.
yeah, yeah.
And of course, we cheers, whatever. And like, I haven't done this before, but it's just a cool thing. And it was
That's
the one he
great.
was doing was a fundraiser for, I think it was Lexington Humane Society. It was some sort of dog.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Cat. And yeah, they gave proceeds to them. And he'll actually make a beer for you. I mean, if you come in and go, yeah, I want this for a wedding. I have a minimum amount, like whatever. They'll work with you. And
Yeah.
he's a mad scientist. He's always coming
Yeah.
up with crazy
Well,
stuff.
he's
so.
always out doing that.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I just went right before the filming of this. I went over to grab a coffee at La Petite, and he's out there lugging his own
Oh yeah.
kegs and stuff. And I'm like, you're the owner. I like that.
Yeah.
Like that's
He's one of the hardest working guys in town. He really
yeah.
is.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to doing an episode with him because it's quite
yeah.
the operation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's tons of energy, super positive. I mean,
Yeah.
just a really cool guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
That's
like
great.
Derek.
Yeah, for sure. It's great. So what about you got the parking lot / green space on the horizon. Any other plans here or there?
No.
And then you're done
Then
forever.
done
And then you're
forever.
selling the
That's
whole
it.
thing.
That's it. Just gonna drive around in the golf cart like an old man and yell at cars and
Yes.
you can't park there.
Yes.
Have a
Except you
little
can
grabber.
because everything's free.
That's right. That's right. No, they're redoing. They're not redoing. They're going to do a development on Midland Avenue. It's going to be 5 stories of apartments, basically.
Oh, dang.
It's going to be awesome. I think that'll be a great feeder for the neighborhood. It'll be a good symbiotic relationship.
The building, no, not the building. I think the building that's on Midland where Manchester Coffee is
Yeah, the Met.
Lexington's version of the Flatiron
Yeah,
building in
yeah,
New
yeah.
York because it's got those wild angles, but not that one.
Not that one.
No,
So this will be
behind
right
it, or-
across. It's the old Lexington Cut Stone, and so it's right across from the Met, and it'll be between here and the old Lexington Herald Leader building.
Okay, cool.
So I can't remember the size of it, but yeah, they're gonna build up. They're gonna have apartments. I don't remember if I'm assuming it's gonna be more than just single bedroom. Really nice design though. Really good people who are working on it, and that'll be good for the neighborhood. I think we'll be good for them as well because people can walk back and forth. And with farmers market, you can get everything that you need.
Totally.
I mean, it's a cool thing, and it's organic, and it's
Totally.
so delicious. Like you said, it's good tomatoes.
The best tomatoes.
The only other thing I've kind of got on the horizon, this is a pilot project that I've had in the works for a while, is going back to the farm to retail. What I really want to do is find just a little spot in the neighborhood that we can set up a pickup drop-off location for CSAs, and then also kind of like a self-serve grocery. That's on
Will you
my...
explain the concept of CSA to me?
Sure. So what it really ends up being is like, let's say I own a farm and I'm growing corn and tomatoes and all the good stuff we just talked about. You pay in to be essentially a partner in that farm. So if the bounty is plentiful, well, you get more stuff. If it's not the best year, then you don't. But you essentially pay the same cost.
You get a
either
taste
way.
of being a farmer, which they have to deal with.
Right.
Yeah.
And you get all these really good. So the one we belong to is Elmwood Stock Farm in Georgetown. It's wonderful that you can just drive by and see the farm from the place that you're actually eating, that you're putting in your mouth. And our pickup location is the little seafood spot over in Chevy Chase. And not to take away from them, but to have multiple CSAs to be able to set up, because there are several in a grocery store type setting, even if it's just as big as this room. Totally. And then have like a membership card where you can swipe it and come in and also buy more tomatoes,
like a
more
co-op.
corn, things
Absolutely.
like that.
Love that.
The model that I saw for it they do it in Europe, some places, and have found that because you don't have someone actually standing there checking you out, that there is some theft, but the offset is because you don't have that person's salary, that it's organic and not many people are going to steal, so you might lose 4 to 6%, but the cost of that person sitting there all day doing nothing is much
more
greater.
than that. Right. Totally.
And if somebody honestly needs a tomato or a stick of corn, go ahead and take it. You know what I mean?
Right. And I've seen this before in shows. Who you can also have some sort of a cut off of what you pay into if you volunteer. Like it's all run by volunteers, like the owners themselves. Yeah. So you pick one Saturday to kind of sit there and hang. I would love it. Yeah. As an extrovert, I'd be like, let's talk about tomatoes all day.
That's
I think that's great. Yeah, no, that's a great concept. So where would it maybe go in there?
Probably,
down the road?
Yeah, down the road. It'll be on national somewhere, and it may just be a seasonal thing. And I tell this concept because, like, if somebody else wants to do it, go for it. Do it. Like, the whole goal is to help out farmers.
Totally.
And so somebody wants to hawk that, it's yours. Take it. Sure. Don't care.
Sure. So I think some people know about your warehouse block, who you are here, but who are you away from the warehouse block? Let's talk about Chad Walker behind the scenes.
All right.
So you are married to a wonderful woman named Jill, who I have yet to meet, but I'm dying to.
Yeah, Jill's great.
Jill's cool. Well, does she want this needs to happen. And then you also have a bunch of goats. So let's talk about your goats.
Yeah, I've got goats, dogs, chickens, ducks.
How big is your property?
Cow. It's right under 100 acres. And
under 100?
Yeah, it's 98, I think, 98 and a half. 30 of that, the organization Seed Leaf utilizes that for their
cool
grow program.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really...
That's awesome.
They've got a big dinner coming up. I don't know how to call it, but they call them this the Congolese. We have a bunch of folks from the Congo. There's like 12 families out there. And they're doing a big grow, and they're going to have a dinner coming up, which is what excites me. Like, I'll use all the land you want as long as I get invited to dinner. Like, I'm cool with that.
Absolutely.
And then, the goats.
How many goats do you have?
6. We have 6 goats.
And are they those really cute little ones?
No goat is cute. They're awful. All goats are awful creatures. They're bad.
They do have an odd look in their eyes. I was looking at a goat the other day, and I was like, there's something off about you.
There's no wonder that most of the times that the devil is depicted, especially in like early lore, it's always a goat because they're awful creatures. They're just bad.
Totally.
Bad. Did you get that? Yeah, bad.
Nice. Good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We got the goats because we have chickens and ducks and geese, and they lay eggs, and we eat the eggs, and we give them to friends and family. And we were getting a bunch of chickens were getting eaten by coyotes. So we put up a fence. The coyotes hopped the fence. So this is right in the middle of the pandemic. Jill did kind of a deep dive and found that Anatolian shepherds are great for protecting creatures. That's just their guardian dogs. So she found a breeder, and the breeder said, well, they don't really like to protect chickens. They like to protect livestock.
Oh, man.
So you need to go get some goats, and the dogs will protect the goats and by proxy protect the chickens.
Wow.
And I said, this is in the middle of the pandemic. I was like, we ain't getting no dog. We sure aren't getting goats.
Yeah.
And of course, you want to know their names? Like, I could get all this. But I lost that one massively.
Sounds
as
like
I
it.
usually do.
Sounds like it.
But we've got a male goat named Mater.
Mater. Oh, from the Cars.
No,
No.
He was just. He had a brother named Tater, so there was Tater and Mater.
I love it.
Tater didn't make it. Unfortunately,
no. What happened
he
to
passed.
Tater?
He We don't really know. We took him
Yeah.
to the vet, and the vet explained it. This is the comic relief of it, but the vet explained that goats are always looking for a way to die, and it's true. They're always out doing something horrible, trying to like off themselves, and so we don't know what happened.
Out of
what
sheer like stupidity or like on purpose.
they're just mischievous. They're really smart,
Okay.
but like we're very like our farm. We don't use like any pesticides. We don't even use weed kill anything. It's
Wow.
100% organic, and that's a lovely thing. And we also go and get organic feed from this Amish organization called Coffee, KOFFI.
Ooh, yeah.
And we have to go once a month to Georgetown to pick up bags and bags of this super organic feed. But the stupid goats, like what they like to eat are Amazon boxes. So we go above and beyond to make sure that they have the best quality of life, best quality food. And they're like, as soon as the Amazon guy drives up. So they're just awful. They're rotten creatures. Jill loves them. Jill loves them so much. But yeah, so there's Mater.
Okay.
There's Luis, Mary Jo.
Now, Louise has been prominently featured on your Instagram and TikToks recently.
She has.
Yeah.
And so's
she's sort of the star
Mater.
of the
Mater's
show.
the number one.
Mater's number one, yeah. Is he the only male?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
There's Della. She named one Chadetta because it talks a lot like me. So
Gotcha.
yeah. And then
Chadetta.
there's itty bitty baby Betty. Betty's the little bitty one, and it's absolutely adorable. I think I got them all. Luis, Chadetta, Mary Jo. Yeah.
Itty bitty baby Betty. Love. So
Yeah.
you did say that one was cute. You just said that Betty was cute.
Yeah. Betty's cute. I'd hang on to
whatever.
Betty. Betty's okay.
Yeah.
She's sweet and happy and jumpy. Like they get all wound up once a day and they run around and do this jumpy kicky girl dance party thing, and it's wonderful to watch. And then they go back to being goats, and they don't eat weeds like they're supposed to. They eat Amazon boxes.
Yeah, no, that's what I've always heard is that if you have, pasture or some acres, you get goats to essentially be lawnmowers.
Yeah.
But
Should
they
be.
don't.
No, they
that's
don't do
not-
their
doesn't
job.
work out.
No.
And they faint, right?
They're fainting goats.
They're
yes.
fainting
So
goats.
I've been reprimanded multiple times for driving by the fence too fast on the lawnmower because it looks like all of them were just murdered. They all flip upside down. Their legs are up, and I'm laughing. I'm falling off the mower, and then I get in trouble. So I'm not allowed to do that anymore. It's hilarious, though. But
How quickly does a fainting goat get up after it faints?
it depends on the level of the faint.
Okay, gotcha.
And they don't
They're
actually
vapors.
faint. They it's kind of like if I hit around a corner and jumped out and scared you. Like everything would go tense.
that shock.
That's what happens to them. But it can also happen when they get excited or they get mad. And so it used to be like Jill would walk to the fence and give them a treat. Well, they knew treats were coming, so they come running down the field
And they get so excited
and they
just
fall over. Yeah, there's Salina goats look like they're laying dead in
These
the
goats
field.
and I have a lot in common, though. I'm finding out more and more. I hate jump scares, and I love treats.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is
And me too.
Yeah.
We brought itty bitty to. She accompanied Santa when we did Santa at Mirror Twin, which was
Amazing.
wonderful. And Mater has made a couple of appearances at. I think he's the one that actually came with us to the Mintel Easter egg hunt. So yeah,
Now. Did you play Santa at Mirror Twin?
I did.
How do you feel about playing Santa?
I think it's a blast.
Okay.
I think every fella or anybody, honestly, anybody can play it because anybody can make their voice a little bit deeper and
Sure.
ho ho ho. But it's a blast. You get all this attention and love
You're
from
like a
children.
celeb. You're a celebrity.
And even though they don't realize I'm not Santa, I'm still getting all the wonderful things. So it's
Yeah.
just like a great ego boost.
Totally.
Unfortunately, though, I did get the Easter Bunny costume, and I am typecast as Santa because I cannot fit in the Easter Bunny costume.
Was it like a slim fit Easter bunny?
No,
Moment?
I'm just big. And it was mostly the head. I got a big head.
Your head was too big for the Easter bunny?
Yeah,
Okay.
that
All
ought to
right.
tell you
Well,
something.
I mean,
Yeah.
after playing
So
Santa.
we had a young thespian by the name of Trent who he's a wonderful young actor up in Winchester. His father owns Eclectic Alchemy and just really super nice guy. Hardcore about playing the Easter Bunny. Like he's really
method
takes it seriously.
acting,
Absolutely.
Like jumps around.
Yes. He's
Yeah.
Easter Bunny for a week beforehand.
To get into character.
But so when we played for Mintel one year, he played Easter Bunny. We left, and when it was all wrapped up, we got a text from this lady that said that you missed us. Like we were driving through the neighborhood, and had a picture of her little kid sitting out in a lawn chair, like just waiting for Easter Bunny. I'm like, oh, we can't leave this kid.
No.
So my father's got this old Humvee, this old H1. And so I'm like, Joe, will you please play Easter Bunny? He's like, absolutely. So she costumes up. We drive through town with her in the back of the Humvee, and she's jumping and kicking in the car with her honking and stuff. And we went and made that little guy's day. Like, it was the best thing ever. He's hugging on. He got his own show for Easter Bunny.
Glad.
But, yeah, it would have been awful to be like, oh, no, we're done. Sorry. Catch you next year. Like, no, can't do that.
No, definitely not.
So, yeah, it was a blast.
Full service around here.
It's funny how when you costume up, whether it's Easter Bunny or Santa, you become that
totally.
person, you know? And, yeah, Jill 100% became Easter Bunny like she was that way today, so...
Well, you also get to like hide behind a persona a little bit.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. So it's fun to,
Yeah.
You can kind of see why some people are like really into that culture because you get to be somebody else.
My father's got an old 1929 Highboy, which is this fire engine red hot rod, open wheels, convertible, no top, roars. I mean, it's a really fast vehicle, and that has become the Santa Mobile. So I'll ride that around town,
fun.
all downtown. I've got a little speaker that I play, and it's just to see people's reaction is just a blast because they're like, "Oh man, that's the coolest Santa ever," you know?
I know.
But,
That's great. Well, it'd be fun to do like a parade down National sometime.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a short, quick little parade.
Oh, yeah.
You can go
Just
back
do a loop,
around,
back and
do a
forth.
loop,
There you
just
go.
loop it. Absolutely.
We good with that.
We should start thinking about parades. I
I'd
think that would be a
with
fun thing to do.
Parades are always fun.
Yeah. Good deal. Good deal. Well, anything else you'd like to say on Inside the Block podcast?
No. I'm glad that you guys are doing this, and I think it's a wonderful thing for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I think it's fun, and I hugely appreciate you guys inviting me on. I know
for sure.
The businesses are way more interesting than the behind the scenes. But
I think
it's
the
cool.
behind the scenes is, I mean, it's fun to see how, the sausage is made, so to speak. I mean, like this area didn't come to be like all on its own. You know, I'm sure you've had a lot of challenges throughout the years, and I'm sure your dad did too, you know?
Yeah. Well, we made a whole bunch of mistakes, but we try to
need to see
try to learn from them. But
the iterations of it. Yeah. Well, you should know this too, is that, and not to blow smoke up your, you know what, but like every person that I've interviewed so far, or that we've gone and done a show with, they want to have you on. They like to talk with, they have nothing but the nicest things to say. And a lot of that is because there are business owners who will come to you and say, I have this really great idea, and you'll find them a spot. And then even though, they don't own that building that they're in, they're renting, you'll go above and beyond to customize that building for whatever their shop is or whatever, they're selling. And that's, especially at White Dress and others, they've really talked about how like that means a lot to them because they were actually in a different place in Lexington where it was really just a business whenever they had rented before. And here it's a family and it's a community. And I think people can really get the vibe of that here, but you don't know until you hear stories like that. So you should feel good about what you're doing around here.
And it's been a bunch of years getting to that point. But
like you're a good businessman.
I guess I'm not as good as I should be in classic business sense because it's profit driven. And with me, it's more of, this is where my office is. I want to be able to walk around the neighborhood without being inundated with, here's problems. You messed this up or whatever. Like I want it to be with everybody. It needs to be symbiotic. We all need to feed off of each other. Used to be, well, I still do this, but like when somebody would come in and say, we want to lease a space. And, I'd give them my speech about the neighborhood and how it means and whatever. And then say, go talk to anybody. Don't just talk to the list of people I give you. Yeah. Go talk to any tenant. And not all of them are going to be like 100% champions, but it's going to be in that 98%. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And if it's anything bad, it would probably be because of me personally for whatever reason. But it's not going to be anything that the neighborhood's not great or that it doesn't feel right or that things aren't fixed. It's, sometimes we just don't matter. But 100%, go talk to anybody. Tell them what your experience was, and that's fine. I used to do this too. I don't do it as much anymore, but there was if the space was empty, I would just I'm not very good at sales, and so it's absolutely the lowest pressure ever. But I give them a key and just like go in the space.
Oh wow!
I'll show it to you, but come back the weekend, come back with your wife or husband or
alone,
whatever.
Yeah, to like
and
get
just
a feel
feel
for
out
it.
the space.
I love that. Yeah.
And there was one instance when I did that, and Jill and I had gone to dinner
and
that
night.
They moved in. Pretty much.
Oh, no.
Squatters, they still live here. Yeah. No, it wasn't that. But Jill and I had gone to dinner, and it's like a Saturday, and we're looping back through, just kind of checking on things, and we see lights on in a space that's supposed to be vacant. And it's like, well, we better go in and turn the lights out and see what's going on. And it was this couple who they had just moved from California. They had a fairly extensive wine collection, and we go in the space, and they're drunker than skunks. There's the two of them and their basset hound. All three of them are drunk.
And the basset hound?
And the basset hound. Basset hound's drunk too.
Amazing. Amazing.
And they were like, we're taking a space, by the way. I'm like, okay, that's wonderful. Like, just make sure to turn the lights off.
After hours.
But that was a little bit of a shock. But yeah, I think the basset hound drove him home. So it should have been okay.
Okay.
I think he was the least. Yeah, he was okay. So yeah, I don't do that as much anymore because, yeah. Other reasons.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, live and learn.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Good learning experience.
Yeah, every year, new business. Yeah, new business ideas. I love it. Well, thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a good time. You always have.
So I am going to make you be on again coming up because I'm doing a lot. I've completely fallen in love with Eppings, the building.
Oh yeah.
The bottling manufacturer. Like I just think it's a great, cool Lexington story that is not told enough.
Is the man. He's absolutely
I cannot wait.
amazing.
So I think we should interview him together. I want you on that episode for sure because you know a ton about the building as well.
Yeah.
And he can really talk about the concept behind like them taking that and moving it up to. So we'll do the Eppings one very soon because I think it's just it's probably in terms of it being like a brick building, of prominence. It's probably one of the most important ones in this area, don't you think?
It is, and to have those guys in there is like, to me, I don't get like all excited about celebrities. I get excited about Lexington celebrities, like really.
Sure.
And those are the people that.
Me
so
too.
like when
Me
Cole
too.
first talked about like renting, it was like, oh my god, it's Cole. Like Cole's
Yeah.
coming down today, and I mean,
Cole likes it. Yeah.
And now I know him really well, but I still have that like. He's right there, man. He's like Cole's the coolest guy.
He's a great chef, yeah.
Yeah. So he'll be phenomenal to talk to. He is absolutely unflappable. Cool as a cucumber always. Great. But yeah.
Well, you have to be in a kitchen.
You do. But like say our little place in Winchester, it's a little 50-seat restaurant, and it's like I always feel like it's chaotic. And Cole, on the other hand, he was attending an event we were throwing one time at Eppings, and he just walked out of the kitchen, just, hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah.
I'm Cole, and just had a conversation and went back, never upset,
It's incredible.
It's absolutely, you have to be born to it. He's amazing.
Do. It's the same thing with like, there's certain professions like that it's crazy that that's just like your everyday.
Yeah.
Like my mom recently dislocated her elbow. Yeah. And so I had to take her in and they popped it back in place in the hospital, like hall. And it was just like, these orthopedic guys, any other day to them, we're all, so it's just, I love, people that are really good at what they do. That you, like you said, like you're born for stuff like that. Yeah. That'll be a good one. I can't wait.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll get that one scheduled. Right, Brandon? He's giving me a thumbs up. Okay, until next time on Inside the Block Podcast.